Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Alex, the two-way penciler here. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and in this video I'm going to show you how I ink my pencil drawings using Photoshop. Now I'm going to be using Photoshop CS6. It's an older version of Photoshop, but I normally use it just to ink my drawings. And if I want to do something like paint or do a coloring on my drawings, I'll just use the current version of Photoshop, which is Photoshop 2024. And the drawing today I'm gonna be inking is the this Resident Evil that I did. It's a kind of like a collage or a poster. I'm a big Resident Evil fan, and this right here is actually the drawing. I'll try to fit as much of it as I can in frame. It's pretty big. I did it on a 24 by 19 Bristol board. So whenever I do drawings, I try to preserve the pencils because I like the way the pencils look by themselves, and then I'll ink it digitally and color digitally as well. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and get started on this video demonstration. Now here we go. As you can see, I have already started inking it. Usually the first thing I do is I'll change the color of the lines to blue. But before I show you guys how I do that, a real quick alright, there we go. Real quick on my inking brush, I'm using this nib right here from a drawing pack or a brush pack I picked up from a website called therustynib.com. I purchased this one a while back, maybe a few years ago. Ever since I bought it, I normally use this one right here. For me, it fits the best for whenever I do inking on my drawings. It also comes with a bunch of other, I don't really want to go too much into it, but it just comes with a bunch of other nibs, as you can see right here. They have some with a dry brush effect, dotted effects, whatever. But like I said, I usually just use this one right here. This one for me has always worked the best. So yeah, that's the brush nib I'm going to be using. Again, it's rustynib.com. If I can find it, I'm pretty sure I'll be able to find it. I'll put it in the description box below. So in order to demonstrate how I turn the black lines blue, I'm gonna go ahead and demonstrate on this Tomb Raider drawing that I did a while back of Lara Croft from Tomb Raider 2. This was 2 years ago, so it's 2022. Now the reason why I turn the lines blue is in order for me to be able to distinguish what parts of the drawing I have and have not inked in yet. It's always good to have that, because if you just keep the lines black, one time I did that when I had first started inking, and it doesn't look too good, and it gets confusing. So it's always best to just change it blue. So in order to do that, the first thing I'll do is the background layer, I'll usually change it to a normal layer, and I'll explain that why. I'm gonna just call it blue, and then after that, you go up here to image, you hit adjustments, and then you go to hue, saturation, and then it'll bring up this little box. From here, what you want to do is hit colorize, and then you'll notice it colors in all the line work. And to make it blue, I'll just slide this little hue slider to the light blue, not too dark and not too greenish, somewhere in the middle. It doesn't have to be perfect, just as long as it's in the light blue area. I'll turn up the saturation, and then the lightness, I'll turn that up as well. It really doesn't matter exactly the exact numbers of each little slider, but pretty much this is how you do it: the hue, the saturation, and the lightness. And then I'll just hit OK. And as you can see right here, my black lines have gone blue. So now that that's happened, I can go ahead and add another layer just to demonstrate. And then as you can see, you can tell the difference between the blue line and the blackness of the inks. So after I do that, let me get rid of this layer. After I do that, what I'll do is the reason why I changed the background layer to a normal layer is so that I can be able to lock it. This little lock out thing, the little lock, I hit that, and what that does, it prevents me, as you can see, I'm pretty sure you guys can see on the screen, it prevents me from being able to paint on it. See, could not use the brush tool because the layer is locked. So it prevents me from being able to paint on it or to merge layers that are on top of it on top of that layer. And the reason why I do that is because a couple of times what's happened to me in the past is I'll be inking something or coloring something, and then I'll merge every layer including the blue line layer, and then I'll save it like that, and I will come back to it the next day, and you know, it's just it's a big headache. So in order to save myself that, I just do what I just did. After I turn everything blue, I'll just lock it, and then I can put in my layers. So that will be my first layer, my first inking layer right there. And then another thing I like to do is I like to put certain elements or characters on their own layer. Like for example, right here, you guys can see I have each character on his or her own layer. For example, right here, I've got Claire on her layer. If I turn that off, that turns her off. Right here, Ada. So the reason why I do this, why I put each character on their own layer, is because when I come back to color this, if I want to do something, some kind of effect, like for example a line hold, or excuse me, a color hold on a certain character, I can just go ahead and select that entire character right there, as you can see, and I'll just make a new layer so it won't make any permanent changes. I'll hide the selection, and now if I want to give Ada any color holds, so let's just go with red, I could just, you know, do that on her. So as you can see, it's just easier to do color holds like that. So I'll just select that layer, like I said, select the entire layer of that character. Let's do it with the liquor now. And then I'll hide the selection, which for me is Control H. And then I could just brush on that one character. So like I said, it's easier to do color holds if I separate each character on top of their own layer. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and get this demonstration going. I'm gonna start on Hunk from Resident Evil 2, as mentioned in the description of the video. There you go. This thing does not want to work. Okay, so it's pretty easy, it's pretty basic and simple. I'll just use my my black ink, use the nib I told you guys about, and then I'll zoom in to about 50%, and then you know I just start, still selected, I'll just start inking. Usually when I do lines like this that are more organic, I'll just kind of throw the line in like that. See how I'm just throwing in the lines? What you don't want to do is, you know, kind of do this thing where you're taking your time like that. I mean, not only is it messy, you know, a lot of people, I've heard a lot of artists refer to that as hairy lines, where you just kind of try to do it perfect, you do perfect little lines, but it just ends up coming out messy. You can see why they call it a hairy line. It looks like little hairs. So instead of doing that, like I said, I'll just try to throw my lines in. And then if for any reason I'm sort of off, what I can do is I could just switch to my eraser, zoom in a little bit, and then I could just kind of sculpt out the line to how I want it to look. So it doesn't have to be perfect every time, obviously, because you're just throwing your lines. Just throwing the lines in like that. I'll go over here. I'll just throw in my lines. And sometimes too, if you want, what you can do is kind of ghost in the line. So like kind of repeatedly go back and forth over the line, over the edge you're gonna line up without actually touching your stylus or your drawing pad. And by the way, I'm using a Wacom Intuos Pro to do this. So you could just kind of ghost in the line, and once you're ready, you touch the pad and just throw in your line like that. And as I said, if it's off by any chance, you could just sculpt it out, just erase it. But there's right here it doesn't really matter, because this entire area is going to be black anyway. So, and if you guys notice, I turn the page when I throw in my lines, because I've trained myself to do my lines just in one direction. That's the best way for me to do it. So if I have to, I'll just throw my lines. Right here, the texture of his helmet is kind of jagged and squiggly, so I can just kind of do this right here. Just like that. And then what I'll end up doing is I'll kind of fence off this area, this entire area of his helmet. Say I finished this entire area, and then I'll just leave this blue. So later on, what I'll do is I can maybe zoom in a little bit more. I'll increase the size of my brush, and then I'll just fill it in like that. So basically I'm fencing in that section with the lines, and then like I said, later on I'll go back and just fill it in like this. So that's pretty much how I do the inking on the normal lines. Now I'm going to show you guys how I do something like a straight line. There's two ways of doing this. The first way of doing it is either, like, say, start at this point right here of his MP5. I'll just do like a little dot, I'll tap it, and then I'll hold shift, and then the other side of that line, I'll tap it again, and what it does, it automatically connects those 2 points. Now this is a good way of doing it. The only bad thing about doing it like that is that depending on how much pressure you put each time you tap on the stylus, one side of the line could end up being fatter than the other, so you just gotta kind of mitigate it. And another way of doing it, instead of doing it like that, what you can do is, I'm gonna try to line up the paper right here. Instead of doing that, what I'll do is I'll tap on the stylus, excuse me, on the tablet, and then I'll hold shift, and then I'll kind of just draw like that. And as you can see, what that does, it just draws a straight line. So with that, I'm gonna have to kind of rearrange the paper. As if you can see, I'm turning the paper, so I'll turn it again to see, make sure I line myself up right with the pencil work, and then I'll try it again. That one's a lot better. And again, depending on how much pressure you put, you can make the line fatter or thinner. Like right here, I'm releasing the pressure, it's coming out thinner, and now I'm increasing the pressure, and that makes it thicker. So those are the two ways, the two best ways I know of to do straight lines when you ink. So you got your organic normal lines, you know, like I said, just throw your lines out. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Just throw out your lines like that. If you gotta fix it, you could zoom in a little, pull out your eraser, and then just kind of sculpt it out the way you want it. And then again, I've got my technique for the straight lines where I'll just tap on the tablet. I'll hold shift and then I'll tap on the other side, and then that connects. See right there, this side of the line came out a little thin, this one came out a little thicker. So to mitigate it, I'll just go back to the other line, hold shift again, and then I'll tap, and that kind of helps it. Or like I said, if you don't want to do it like that, just tap down, hold shift as you draw out, and then just it kind of like just lets you draw out the straight line, kind of like if you have a straight edge or a ruler. And the last thing I'm going to show you guys right here is how to do perfect circles or spheres. I just go ahead and use the shape tool. I make sure that my fill is set to this little X. That just means it doesn't have anything inside to fill it in, and the stroke is just going to be black. And the size of my circle or stroke is at about 3 pixels. So for his goggles right here, I can just go ahead and back to the brush. I can just go ahead and start drawing it out or stretching it out. If you want to make a perfect circle, you just hold shift and it makes that circle perfect. But we're not trying to do that right now. I'm just trying to make it kind of organic, so just do the best I can right there. And as you can see, it doesn't match the pencil work. So what I'll do is I'll go back to the ellipse layer right here. I'll right click, I'll rasterize that layer, and then after that what I can do is I hit Control T to transform it. It puts this little bounding box around it, and then I could move it in place like that. I could shrink it, you know, whatever I've got to do to make it somewhat fit this pencil work I did. It's most likely not really gonna fit too well. I just got to do the best I can, because when I penciled his goggles in right here, I kind of free-handed it because I didn't have an ellipse stencil that was big enough to do what I needed it to do. I couldn't find an ellipse stencil that was big enough, so I just went ahead and I free-handed it. So right there you can see I did the best I could to fill in the little goggle right there. And that's pretty much how I do with the spheres or circles or that sort of thing. I can go ahead and do it again right here on his little respirator. I'm kind of trying to make it a perfect circle, so I'm holding down shift. I let go of the tablet. I'll go again to my layers. I'll right click that layer, rasterize it, and then Control T again to transform it, and then I could shrink it down to kind of fit the pencils right there. That looks pretty good. So I'll just hit enter, and then there we go. So that's pretty much how I do it. I was trying not to make this too long a video. It's just a quick explanation of how I do my inking, how I do my lines, as well as how I turn the lines blue in order to help you, you know, figure out what areas you haven't inked in. Just kind of messing around with it a little bit here. So if you got, like I said, you've got your organic lines where you can just, you know, kind of throw your stylus onto your tablet. Again, if your line doesn't come out how you want it, go back, zoom in a little bit, get your eraser out, your eraser tool, and just kind of sculpt out the line to how you want it to look. Remember not to do the hairy lines where you kind of slowly go back and forth like that. That's not going to look right at all. So you don't want to do that. Just remember to just throw your lines. And again, I showed you guys how to do the lines. You can either tap it, hold shift, tap the other end. If it comes out skinny like that, just go back, hold shift again, and tap that other line. Or just put down a dot, hold it down on your tablet, hold shift, and then just draw it out. Again, remembering that depending on how much pressure you put, it'll make the line thick or thin. And another cool thing I forgot to mention is let's say right now I just finished drawing this line right now, I can connect both of these. I can connect both this line and another line that I'm about to draw, and by doing that is I'll hold down shift first before I click on my tablet. So right now I'm gonna hold shift and then I'll click, and then as you guys can see right there, what that did, it automatically connected my old line to the line that I just draw, and then from here, still holding shift, I can draw out another line. So for any reason, if you need to connect your bottom line or whatever to the next line you're gonna draw, hold shift before you put down your stylus, and then you can do it like that. But I really don't find a practical reason for doing it like that, but I mean, it's good to know. So there it is. I'm almost done with this piece. I just need to finish inking in Hunk, the crow, the cockroaches, the little mouse right here, the little rat with the G-Virus vial, and that one will be pretty much it. And once I'm done, it'll look something like this one right here. I also did another Tomb Raider of Lara Croft. This is actually from Underworld. This one's already flatted out. It's ready for me to color. But if I take off the flats, you can see right here how it looks with just the inks. This one, I did it 2 years ago as well. So I'm barely getting around to inking these and coloring these. This one was also done on a 19x24 smooth Bristol board. I tend to work on larger pieces of paper whenever I want to do something that's like a poster style drawing or something like that, when I do collages like this one. So yeah, that's the end of the video. I hope you guys learned something. If you did, just be sure to subscribe, you know, hit the little bell icon, comment, share it, whatever you guys got to do. Yeah, and then I'll see you guys later on the next video. Just remember, hit the bell icon so you get notifications whenever I upload any new videos. And until that time, I'll see you guys later. Thanks a lot.